Hey guys, Veebat here with another V-Plays, taking a look at the ME262. Now this is not a fully upgraded review, this is only a partially upgraded, and I have spared you the pain of watching this thing fully stock, because stock it only gets 2 of the 30mm cannons. It is going to be a bit of a bear to grind, and again, why are the Germans such a pain to grind when they're stock? I have no idea why they did this, but they usually end up being some of the better aircraft in their classes, or at least have a very particular niche which makes them a lot of fun to fly. This 262 variant, this is the one that was actually in World War II. This is the first production jet fighter aircraft that we had actually seen and remember from the history books. The stock variant only has two 30mm and they are 108s, just like its predecessor with the BF-109 Zwilling. And when you upgrade it to the next airframe, you can immediately put on the next set of cannons, which are going to be 4 cannons. So yes, you have to upgrade the airframe before you get there. The engine power, eventually this thing is very, very fast, but starting out this thing has lackluster performance with these stock engines. It is only when you get this thing fully upgraded and get the bonus rocket engine in the tail, which allows you to be able to get this thing up to much better speeds, and you can use that in concert with a set of ordnance, which is recently going to be a recent unlock for us when it comes to the Germans, which is going to be air-to-air rockets. So this does get air-to-air rockets, but bear in mind that they are not nearly as powerful as those that we see with the F-94D, the Starfire American Tier 9. Now, being that this is a heavy cannon fighter, it is going to do best in a boom and zoom operation. The cannons are going to take a bit to get used to. This thing can't even turn with an RB-17, so you are going to have to break your engagement and come back into the target. Otherwise, you are going to be roped into doing a circle fight with an RB-17 that can continually pepper you with its tail gunners. So I just make sure I plan my passes accordingly. Even here, I am breaking away from the target and then bringing my nose back around for another pass on the airframe. And that's enough to finish it off. For this battle mode, we are going to have to try and take both of these command centers. This is a lopsided map with 2 mining facilities on the enemy spawn and 2 command centers on our spawn. If we can get both of these command centers and hold them, it is only a matter of time before we are able to get the mining facilities. So a little bit of a bad situation for the 2 enemy players, which are doing their darndest to try and flip this other command center in order to keep things equal. I, on the other hand, am going to do everything in my power to try and slow down their attempts by taking out some of the air defense fighters, destroying some of the enemy attackers, and trying to keep the playing field in our favor. Being a boom and zoom aircraft, you have to make sure that you are playing to your strength. Do not get overly excited trying to turn with these aircraft. You are going to miss a lot of shots with these cannons. You see I'm missing on this aircraft. I should not be chasing him, but I am doing it anyways, which is a bad maneuver. So I decide that's a bad idea. I break off my pursuit and immediately hammer down the boost using my strength of acceleration and top airspeed to not only move out of that zone, but then move in on this 0, which is a defender aircraft for this command center. By taking out this airframe, it will also make things a little bit more difficult for the enemy, and I have protected my XP-72, which means I have another aircraft helping me try and take or maintain this zone. Up and over turns are always going to be optimal because that means you now have the advantage of going downward on your target, which will allow you to be able to increase your speed, which is only going to make your zoom aspect of your boom and zoom run that much more effective. Alright, I managed to miss all of my shots on that aircraft, which is okay. It will happen because the 108s are very difficult to operate. But the important thing is I didn't get upset about it and try to double back on that target, otherwise I would have put myself in a worse situation. And it looks like my ally took him out in the XP-72 that I helped save earlier. I do see the 0 coming in, and earlier he was chasing me. What I did was I moved outside of the circle, did my up and over turn, and he disengaged from me as soon as I left his engagement circle. So if you leave a capture zone, that's going to be your best bet for being able to get those air defense aircraft off of you while they're trying to chase. I'm now ignoring that aircraft I just passed on that boom run, and now I'm going to try and engage this bomber. I'm being very careful not to overheat my cannons since I have some time here. I'm saving up my boost, maintaining my speed, take out the aircraft. Unfortunately, I don't think... No, that was in the zone, but it looks like one of my allies was either killed or one of these defense aircraft was taken out by the enemy, so we are still struggling to maintain this area. There's a low health aircraft from earlier that we passed on. Eventually we got him, so it worked out. I had a gut reaction to go after that aircraft, but I avoided it, and you can see in the downhill with the boost we're able to get up to 560 miles an hour, which means that we were able to get enough separation from the chasing aircraft, which is a Su-9, which has some pretty nasty cannons of its own. But I'm going to double around and get my cannons on target, and it looks like we nicked each other on that run. I see this opportunistic target here, and I managed to take out the air defense fighter that he was trying to engage, which means he lost the ability to get some more of those capture points. It looks like I have a lot of allies moving in on his position, and he's just about taken out, but I'm more worried about this Su-9 since he's heading in my direction.
Hang in there. You'll soon be cut off from support. I see again.
There is the Su-9 we engaged earlier, so you can get your target eventually. It may take 1 or 2 passes, but that's how a boom and zoom fighter works in some instances, and you'll discover that that is going to be all the more true with the 108mm cannons. Now, those bombers have been doing work throughout the entirety of this engagement, and they have managed to take both mining facilities with the aid of some of our own ground attack aircraft. My allies finished off the enemy 209A, which means that we now have captured the zone, and I'm going to make my way towards the airfield, because if we can take that, we will get air supremacy, and this match will be over. Squall line is happening now, so all aircraft destroyed are out of the battle for good, so I also need to be careful not to lose my aircraft. I do see that we are losing the command center, so I have to redirect my efforts. And plus, this is an enemy player in the, what is that, the Sea Wolf? Sea Fang. So we're going to put a couple shots into him, but I'm going to continue passing since I know I can't turn with him. And we'll put some shots into the XP-72. We have not killed the aircraft, but we have caused significant damage, which is great. With the 30mm, you are going to get a lot of critical hits. I'm using my airspeed to be able to do an up and over turn. The Sea Fang looks like he is diverted onto the Su-9, which I'm okay with. I'm going to get some shots on target. I put 1 hit into him and it damaged the airframe. It looks like the bombers are on target for the airfield. The Sea Fang is gone, so the player is no longer an issue. There's only the XP-72 over here contesting my command center. And it looks like our team finally took out what was left of the airfield, and air supremacy finalized the match, and now we are moving on to the end result screen. Alright, now that we're back to the hangar, let's take a little bit more of an in-depth look at this airframe and see what she actually has to offer. With an aircraft experience gain of 6,200, considering that this is now a non-premium, is a pretty decent income when it comes to a ×2, since this is my multiplier for the day off of this airframe. This is a grade 2 heavy fighter, mostly because of the capture points. We did kill 10 aerial targets as well, which definitely helped for those points, but we only maintained 2 sectors, so if we wanted to up this, we could have positioned ourselves to go after other sectors as well, but I felt it was important to defend those 2 offensive those 2 offensive objectives, since that is kind of the name of the game for that match. We did outperform everybody on the enemy team. However, we were actually outperformed on our own team by an IL-20, so good job, bot. You did a good job. I finally upgraded the engine, which is nice because it feels like this thing is lacking speed. The match previous to this one, I had a really tough time getting away from XF5U pancakes. They were able to chase me down, which that aircraft is fast, but this aircraft should be much faster. You saw I was getting up to around 560 in a dive. I'd be lucky to break 550 in an XF5U. So I'm glad to be able to get the engine upgrade. Let's take a look at the engine upgrade and some of the ways that you want to upgrade this aircraft as soon as humanly possible. The stock guns are going to only be 2 cannons, okay? They're the exact same guns, but with only 2 of them, so half the overall damage output. Together, you're looking at a total of 800 damage per second, which is suitable. Otherwise, if you look at the way this airframe looks, it just looks like it's unfinished because you can see here mounting the 2 cannons, the 2 center ones just have covers over them, which is just a sad state of affairs. It doesn't cost anything for speed to put these on, so get them as soon as you possibly can, but it will demand that you get the airframe upgrade as well. The airframe upgrade is essentially the same. There's no major changes with the exception of some survivability as well as dive speed, and the maneuverability gets a slight, no, it doesn't get any change, I take it back. So it's only going to help you in the dive speed department. When you look at the engines, all of these engines are going to be useful with the exception of the last one at helping you get engines for other lines. So the engine you start out with is the same engine you get on the 1092 and the BV210. This second engine doesn't help anybody but your own aircraft, but it does. This is an interesting one. I'm interested to see what happens when I upgrade this. It tells me that I'm going to get an overall speed increase and an increase in my climb rate and my optimum airspeed, but the thrust is actually going to be lower. So I'm not sure why that is. I'll be interested to figure out why later on, but it only helps with the 262. Meanwhile, looking at the Jumo 004B, which is going to be the upgrade that allows you to be able to put the same engine on the 150 or the 180, the next engine in the 1092 as well as the 210, and is, I believe, an upgraded engine for the 1099B2 or possibly its stock engine. The final culmination here is an interesting engine because this is actually a rocket engine. Now it doesn't replace these 2 engines with rockets, but there is a variant of the 262 where on the tail section this nodule where the light is replaced with essentially a rocket exhaust, which allows you to be able to use a rocket. And there was a 262 variant, or at least concept, that would allow it to be able to use a rocket in order for it to get up to intercept height, and then it would use the jet engines to operate once there. So that is an option that they put in the game. It is weird to me that it is in addition to the existing engines, because you think that that would mean that you would replace these 2 engines on the wings, but it operates as an augmented engine. So I would like to fully upgrade this aircraft just to see how that is, but that is something that is awaiting us in the future. For the time being, I am going to upgrade this engine as soon as possible, even using some of my free XP. Does it actually look different? Oh, the engines even look different. Nice. Okay, cool. I'll be interested to see how these play out and how they perform, so I'm excited about that. Yep. There it is. Increase in thrust. That's so weird. And then you can get these rockets. These rockets are nice because this means in a head-on situation, you can actually launch a salvo of rockets on your enemy. It's probably going to take the full salvo, so just be aware of that these rockets are not going to be as powerful as the rockets we saw on the F-94D on the American line. These are going to be much lower power, but you just spam all 3 of them, and it's just a nice option for a head-on engagement. And the bombs aren't great. I don't advocate putting them on because, as you saw, I was running into speed issues. Putting these bombs on will decrease your overall airspeed by 18 miles an hour, and that is not worth it in my opinion. So I am going to be running the aircraft clean until I am able to get these rockets on here, and once I get these rockets on here, it's only going to cost me 9 miles an hour, which is not too bad. And then hopefully by that point I'll also have the Jumo 004Bs unlocked for this aircraft as well. So that pretty much wraps it up for the 262. Again, this is relatively stock. The only thing I've upgraded was the airframe in order to get the guns, and now you just saw me be able to unlock the engines. So we'll see how this thing plays out in the future, and I will catch you guys on the next one.